Kabbalah.
Shalom, Dr. Laitman. Un gusto volver a estar con usted de nuevo.
Hello, Dr. Laitman.
Me alegra mucho
A pleasure to meet again.
entrevistarlo.
גם אני שמח להיפגש איתך שוב.
It's a pleasure. The feeling is mutual. Thank you very much. It's also a pleasure for me to meet with you. How is everything? Well, as always,
כרגיל, אני מלמד בבוקר.
I teach in the morning. I write, talk,
שיחות עם אנשים.
meet different people for talks that are interested, people that are interested in the development of the world.
זה העבודה שלי.
That's my work.
זהו.
That's it.
אני שמח לראות אתכם.
I'm happy to see you.
וכל המדיה שעומדת אחריך.
And all the media that is behind you. It's very important to me.
כן.
Muchas gracias. Y sobre ese desarrollo,
Thank you very much.
¿en qué etapa va?
The development of the world,
¿En qué momento?
in what stage are we as a humanity? At what historic moment are we in
Situación de la corona?
right now, if taking into account the situation with the corona and everything else?
בשלב מאוד מיוחד.
We're really in a very special stage in the development of the world.
התפתחות האנושות.
It's especially with
האנושות להתפתחות הנכונה. אז
development of humanity, but in order to bring humanity to its correct development, nature is influencing us in different ways.
סכסוכים בין העמים,
Besides,
בשינויים
stirring up different
בטבע, הריגה,
conflicts between nations and all the changes that are going on in nature, like volcanoes erupting and hurricanes and the oceans and everything that's going on, but also wars.
המתיחות הזאת
We see that
לא יורדת ממש מה...
the tension is on the news all the time. You see it here and there. And even though that it seems to me that we're already in a state
יותר ויותר שאנחנו
where we are learning more and more
רוצים
that
לבוא אליהם,
all the goals that we want to reach,
להשיג לא על ידי
that it is more beneficial for us to come to them not through wars, because they themselves actually don't do anything. Today, through the correct connection, through the different forms of communication that we have developed,
שינויים הרצויים בצורה
we can reach the necessary changes in a much quicker and easier way.
נקווה שאנחנו
So that's the world. And let's hope
במשך
that we learn
המאה ה-21 אנחנו נלמד
and that throughout the 21st century, we will finally learn
אפשר לעשות שינויים גדולים
that it is possible to make great changes, strong, serious, good changes in the world, so that everyone,
בארגונים,
all people, organizations, governments,
חברות וקבוצות,
societies, groups,
אפשר להגיע למצב שכולם היו מרוצים, אמנם שזה
we'll see that it is possible to reach a state that we're all content, even though that it's as if impossible because everyone wants something else. So how is it possible that everyone will have it good?
בכל זאת נגלה את השיטה.
But it's possible that nonetheless we will discover the method with the help of which all of us will be content, pleased, happy.
אני מצפה
This is actually what I expect for humanity to want to discover this method, and then everyone will have it good, even though that everyone's an egoist and everyone's opposed to one another, and it can't be that one's well off and so is the other, but nonetheless, this is what we need to come to.
Muchas gracias. Y sobre ese egoísmo que nos dice la Kabbalah y también
And
sobre
this egoism that Kabbalah explains about,
de personas, qué importancia tienen estas organizaciones,
and also
eliminar el egoísmo.
the organizations, the different organizations. What is the significance of the different organizations in annulling the ego? Their significance is that precisely by them, by the different organizations, governments, and everything that there is in their favor, against them, the different forms that they appear in, with their desire, wanting to determine things, precisely. Thanks to that, do we discover that there can be only one solution, that all of us will rise above our demands toward each other and will reach a state of zero, that there can be tranquility, calm, a good and nice calculation and outcome only if we all put aside our mutual demands of each other and come to, how to put it, to a complete zero. We have no other choice. Maybe I'm not talking so clearly, but humanity is approaching it. It will discover it soon. If you have questions, then I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, muchas gracias. Y también sobre el cambio climático que mencionaba, cómo nos va.
And also in regard to the climate change that you've mentioned, how will this continue influencing us, the climate change?
Naturales en Israel o
Is it possible to see
que se incrementen?
Difficult things, natural problems in Israel too? In the near future? Of course. Look, all the problems that we're experiencing that are all for a man in order to improve human behavior toward each other, people's behavior toward each other. That's how we have to look at all these things. Therefore, if we will change, if we ourselves will change, and we will come to calmer relations, more correct, proper relations, then by that, we will nonetheless calm down the whole of nature with all the hurricanes and volcanoes and earthquakes and everything else that exists in all directions, in the ocean, in the sky, above us, beneath us, around us, everywhere. It all actually depends on man, because we're the center of creation, we're the basis of creation, and the different influences that we receive from creation, the more correctly we understand them and realize them correctly, then it's only in order to connect with one another. Then accordingly, we will also calm down the different forces of nature in the different forms that they work.
Perfecto. Y sobre el antisemitismo, ¿va a haber algún momento en el que no exista antisemitismo? ¿O el antisemitismo?
And will there come a moment where there will no longer be anti-Semitism, or will anti-Semitism continue existing on a global level? That anti-Semitism will stop for a certain period of time. It's things that we've already seen here and there. Usually it happens after very serious problems, troubles that the nations of the world give the Jews. But we need to understand that the reason for anti-Semitism is that the nation of Israel itself is not doing what they're supposed to do in the general system of humanity, of the nations of the world, of nature as a whole, on the degrees of the speaking. If the nation of Israel will all in all come to connection, completion, to a friendly state amongst them, and like it says, love another as yourself. If this is what they'll do, then by this they will be able to immediately calm down all the forces of nature that are colliding with one another, erupting against each other, and then there will be tranquility and completion between all forces in general. It all depends on the people of Israel. It all depends on the measure that the people of Israel understand their situation, their destiny, their role, their goal, their responsibility for everything that is going on in the world. And this is actually what the Torah talks about, tells about, and wants to say.
Y para eso es importante que los judíos del mundo hagan Shuvah.
And for that, it's important that Jews in the world will repent, will go back to faith, will become more believers. No. It's not about belief, it's not about faith, it's not about religion, it's not about keeping certain religious ceremonies, it's about the attitude, approach of love another as yourself. That has nothing to do with any kind of ceremony or religion or belief or anything else. It simply has to do with a heart-to-heart approach or attitude from person to person, and this is what Jews need to show everyone. That's it. If this is what we'll do, then we can see that the ball is in our park and that we're responsible for everything that is going on, and that there is no problem for it to be that way all over the world. Everyone, including everyone, will start to calm down. All the forces of nature, the nature of the still, vegetative, animate, between people, it will all start calming down more and more with Jews in the center of creation. If they start enacting the proper, correct, friendly relations from heart to heart toward each other. It's written in the Torah and in many other places, and this is something that we really need to keep. I've researched these things a lot, and I didn't believe that it is so much the truth and how necessary and useful, beneficial it really is. Thank you very much. And about Israel's vision toward the world, maybe the way Israel appears in the world media, will Israel look better in the world media, or to the contrary? It all depends. It also all depends on the way Israelis, on the way that Jews will treat each other, on the relations between them. That if Jews will treat each other with more closeness, in a more heartly way, then accordingly we will see how the nations of the world treat them, and in general how the world is developing accordingly. These things are very interconnected, interrelated, but in the center of humanity, one way or another, is the nation of Israel, and it determines, according to its cohesion, connection, mutual responsibility, mutual bestowal, mutual guarantee, the measure to which they feel themselves as a nation, as responsible for everything. Accordingly, they determine those relations, those states in every nation and between all nations. Therefore, the ball is in our hands.
Okay, muchas gracias. Y también vemos recientemente.
Okay, thank you very much. And lately we also see lots of geopolitical tension between different nations in the world. Could it be that there will be war, like a world war, for example, or something like that? Could that happen? I don't think so. I don't think that there's room for wars, not even for small wars. Gradually, it is all coming down to a state where we see that wars are useless. Now, more and more people understand this, that we can't solve any problem with the help of war. When we look at the perspective that's opening up behind us, not in front of us, behind us, we see that we did not achieve anything through any kind of war in the world, but that every time things became worse and less solvable. And therefore, it seems to me that humanity is learning, especially with all the weapons that we have and the interdependence that exists between everyone. We start seeing that we really can't exist without each other, between countries, between societies, etc., etc. And therefore, the time has come for us to simply calm down with all these hostile relations between us, this hostile attitude toward each other, like little children that will stop fighting finally, and think, how can we come to some kind of balance between us? I think that the time has come that humanity can consider all of these things and stop making such a big noise with war threats, etc.
Gracias. Bien. Y
thank you.
Sobre el tema de la corona, del COVID,
and about the corona, how does that influence people mentally, spiritually, and how can there come a correction to those people that passed away or became ill with corona, but that it brought them some kind of spiritual or mental harm, and also people that lost relatives, friends? What kind of message can you give to these people? Let's look at this thing globally. All in all, as a result of this plague, if you can call it a plague, died not as many people as from other plagues like you used to have in the past, like in Europe in the Middle Ages or in Africa. There were much greater waves of pandemics in the past. What is going on now, I think that it is under the control of people, and that people die. It's natural. Sorry for saying so, because we're talking about human lives one way or another, but it's natural. I look at it from maybe from a bit of a higher perspective. That's our life. Just like we don't like talking about death, but it's a part of life. That's how it is with the corona as well. And so first of all, I think that all the things that come to us, they don't come just so, but in order for us to learn from them how to relate to life more and more correctly. This is one thing, and this is something that, by the way, the corona really helps us in. It calms humanity down. It explains the humanity, the measure to which it is possible to live differently, that we don't need to run from place to place and have the same way of living, the same crazy lifestyle that we had before. We can really calm ourselves down and to relate to everything in a calmer way, in a more balanced fashion. The corona explains that we can live near each other, only not so tightly like before. We need to see, how do you treat others? I don't see it as a world, as a global blow on the one hand. On the other hand, it really helps us to come back to a normal life. We don't need to leave home, men and women, in order to live in order to work in different places and to see our life. And that we leave home in the morning, we go to sleep in the evening in order to get up in the morning and go to work and come back in the evening and go to sleep. And again, we can arrange our life differently. We don't need to make so many things that there's not even room to throw away all the things that we're making. We can calm down a bit with all the industry and trade and all these things to balance our attitude toward life a bit. And I hope that Corona did a lot with it. We don't feel the results yet, but we will feel them over time. We can surely go back to working partially from home, and you don't have to go to factories and offices and places. Certainly there are such that you can't leave, such workplaces that you can't leave, but there are such works that you can do from home. You don't need to neglect the children that much, and determine for ourselves an industrial developmental process, the development of the family and humanity. Humanity forgot that all in all we're living for the sake of man and not for the sake of some position or some job or some office and different other things. People fell under the influence of the media and started going crazy with building different artificial forms of life in a way that they can no longer sustain them. So the corona taught us a bit. Kind of hit the brakes on different aspects of our life. And we came to the understanding that we can live in a different pace. And I really hope that humanity will learn something from it.
Okay, perfecto. Muchas gracias, muy interesante.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Y sobre el tema,
it's very interesting.
En qué situaciones,
and in relation to the situation that humanity is in, and especially the younger generations in their system of values. Maybe values are kind of renewing themselves with the influence of the corona and everything, but what situation, what values is the younger generation under? I think that they're much wiser than the previous generation. I think that they're not that willing to sell themselves to the different kinds of to different works, jobs, accept different fairy tales. They first of all ask themselves what for. What do I need it for? For the sake of what? And because our ego is growing from generation to generation, then it's no longer like in the previous generation where the main thing was to make more money, to get richer. That was the main thing. But today we're reaching a state where we're not living only for money. We want to know what for, why. And the younger generation are asking themselves more and more, do I really need it? Or maybe others are fooling me, just wanting me to do that, conning me. So we see that the younger generation are asking questions. They first of all want to know what will they have as a result. And they're not really running after money, power, honor that much, but they're a bit delving deeper into the meaning of life. And therefore, it seems to us that they're kind of strange, that they're not like us grown-ups. And they're right. They're right. And therefore, I really respect them and bless them for being able to reach a state where they understood what is the meaning of life, what is the secret of life. That they'll ask more about what is the meaning of life, and that will really be their main question that always stands before them. What are we living for? And then they will not mistaken like we do. They will not sell themselves for money, honor, respect, different things that are generated for them and that they as if that are made for them and they as if must buy them, have to do them. No. It's not a must. They have a question of altogether, what do I need it for? And I really like this question.
Gracias. Y también relacionado a los jóvenes, ¿qué piensa usted sobre las nuevas tecnologías?
And to follow up on that, what do you think about new technologies? I don't know if you're familiar with them. There's this new project by Zuckerberg on Facebook of the virtual world, where all people will have like an alter ego, virtual alter ego. What do you think about the future of technology and social media, and how does it affect the current generation, the next generation, and the world in general? I think about all these things that they come to show us, how opposite the world can really become to how it's really supposed to be. And such like Zuckerberg, they want to show us through the development of those artificial systems, how limited man really is. This is eventually what humanity will discover, how limited we are in the process of our corporeal development, and that our entire development needs to be spiritual. It is a development where we actually annul our ego, and not like Zuckerberg wants to make it skyrocket, just like it's burning in him. And power and money and control over human thoughts and people that this determines the entire life of people like him, surely it is a very strong blow to mankind, but nonetheless, along with it, it is a very serious remedy for humanity, by which it more quickly understands how much a person needs to open himself up and develop in a completely opposite direction, not outside of him, but inside of him. There he will find his inner world. There he will find the endlessness above life, above death, above all limitations. Therefore, I'm not getting into it, and I'm completely not related to Zuckerberg's world, but I have a world of my own.
Gracias. ¿Y qué mensaje nos da la Kabbalah a la humanidad?
And what message does Kabbalah give
Día tras día,
to humanity in order for us to be able to improve our life from day to day? And what do we need to do so that what Kabbalah teaches us will be something that we can implement in the best possible way? Kabbalah says that we need to reveal the hidden forces of nature that really sustain us and arrange us, govern us. But these forces are unique, and they are around us, but we don't feel them. That we get more and more into this different binary forms of computers, etc., meaning that we want to control our life with the help of different artificial systems that we build. And I think that our future is actually the contrary. To enter man. Man is the cradle of civilization. He has all the inner systems. In the meantime, they're hidden from us, but we can reveal them, and through them to reveal an endless world, a world of endlessness, of life that's beyond life and death and our nature, our human nature. These are all things that we can do if we develop, not in the technological direction, where then all of us will be like Zuckerberg's slaves, but that we will be we will be the servants of nature, meaning that we will start entering the depth, the internality of nature, and we will start understanding how everything comes down to connections of love. And there, in that, we will attain endlessness. This is what's up ahead, and I hope that in this generation we will come to attain all of this, and let's also hope that you will succeed, that through you we will be able to further explain these things to people. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Dr. Laitman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman. And in conclusion, I would like to know, what is your opinion on what is about to happen? Will the pandemic continue? Will the waves of vaccines continue? Will all of this continue? What's expected with the corona? After the corona, there will be a different corona in one way or another, but for sure that there will be something, because nature needs to bring us to the revelation of the law that all in all, We, only in the right connection between us, can overcome all the problems. And if we have still not discovered all these rules, if we didn't realize it all yet, then we will need to realize it. And therefore, blow after blow, nature will carry on in its direction. And just like in the past, people used to fight with sticks and stones, and then with guns, and now with missiles. This is how it's going to be until we will understand that our success depends not on who's physically stronger, intellectually, mentally stronger, but on the measure to which we will connect. The highest degree in nature is on the inside, in the connection between us. That is the source of energy, the source of life, the source of everything, only in our connection. So let's really hope that this is something that we'll understand how to come to it, and we will start working on it. And this will bring us to connection. I think that the pandemic, actually, by that, did some pretty good things. First of all, we felt what does it mean to be in a global process, all of us together, all around the world. We felt that these are things that we ourselves can't manage, can't control. All in all, we're under the power of nature. And therefore, surely it is better for us to come to know the laws of nature and work with them. And in that, we will succeed.
Muchas gracias, Dr. Laitman,
Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman, for everything, and for you to continue. You're bringing so much wisdom to the world, and so that you can continue doing it with the help of Kabbalah. Thank you very much. Lots of luck to you too. Amen.
נפגשים עם קבלה